Hello YouTube, it is Toy Adventures here again with another figure review. And today we're taking a look at the final of the new medium series Hammond collection. We're taking a look at the Irritator. Now one thing you'll notice about this guy is it's not 30th anniversary actually. This is just Hammond collection, and interestingly enough, it's not based on any movie. So we have the usual Hammond collection box here, just pretty standard, no 30th anniversary logo, just says Irritator. And interestingly enough, you take a look here on the side, we got a nice little render of the Irritator, and just the Jurassic World logo, like not even Jurassic World, just kind of like the Rex icon, and it's the same on the back. So there really isn't any movie tie-in for this guy. This is truly our first just dinosaur in the line, just a random dinosaur. There's no tie-in, doesn't go to any movie. It's not referenced in any movie, like with the concave Venator, where it was, you could at least say, oh, it was in the Lockwood estate. This was never anywhere. So, living up to the name, the Irritator is a ferocious and aggressive carnivore that has a long snout and primarily feeds on fish. So, this is another spinosaurid that we have gotten in the line. We have had, in the main line at least, you know, Spino and Suko and Barry. And in Hammond, we've only really had the Baryonyx, so this is kind of just like our appetizer until they eventually give us the JP3 Spinosaurus. When, I don't know, but I really hope it's soon. So, that's the back of the box. That's the side of the box. Really not too much going on here box-wise. It's just an average release in the line. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this guy out of the packaging. And here we have the Irritator broken out of containment. And guys, I have got to say, this is one of, if not the best in this wave. In fact, I'm going to say it is actually the best in the wave of 3 so far. That being Dimetri, the Irritator, and this guy. Because, well, I'll get into my reasons in just a bit. One thing I immediately noticed is that it's not, is the build of it is actually quite smaller. The frame is quite smaller. It's a smaller build than, let's say, the Metriacanthosaurus or even Ceratosaurus. It's maybe even kind of a smaller frame than even the Baryonyx, which is interesting. It's in the same kind of medium dinosaur class as them, packaging wise, but yet they still paid attention to detail enough to give it a smaller build even when compared to its similar size toys, you know what I mean? So I like that this thing has a more accurate size, and let's get on to its best attribute, sculpting, because they went crazy with this guy. This is easily the best sculpted in the wave, and we're about to find out why. So let's take a look, starting up from the head, because that is where the magic really starts. You have this beautifully sculpted Spinosaurid head with a nice little frill up there on the top, something that a lot of Spinosaurids get left out on, even though most of them had them. And look here at the head. The sculpting work is fantastic. I'm really liking these new little tiny beady eyes that they're giving these new releases. Instead of those big cartoony eyes, these are much more realistic and small, and end up giving this thing such a more threatening and, you know, menacing appearance. And you can just see all the individual little scales and bumps and all the different sculpt work they've done. The teeth look great. They don't look too gummy at all. They look nice and thin and serrated. And the mouth, it just looks amazing. Now mine's jaw doesn't seem to want to fully shut. It should sit like that, but this is how it wants to be. And yeah, the sculpting work is crazy. Moving on down to the neck, it gets even more crazy. You can see right here, the kind of gizzard right here is amazingly sculpted with each individual little scale, each individual little bump. You can see there's some osteoderms up here on the top, just to give that skin more texture. And while the osteoderm should be a little more messy, this kind of organized pattern isn't to what it should be, but I still think it ends up giving this thing an amazing real-world reptile look. I said this with these Metriacanthosaurus, that this kind of super fine detail just makes me think I'm looking at a real, you know, reptile here, even though these are, well, I guess Irritator is more reptile than bird, huh? Just giving you a good look at that sculpting. Moving on down here to the body, where the sculpting really goes crazy. You see all the different little pebbling on the skin. It just looks fantastic. I don't think this one necessarily needs a repaint because I think the colors on it are just fine, while being a bit plain. You know, it's just kind of this gray dinosaur with some yellow striping. I would have thought, I think that if the striping had some black outline, kind of like the Irritator, that would really help this thing pop. That's just my personal little opinion. I always love the black outlining because it really, again, makes things pop and much more natural looking, because you see that black outline in a lot of natural patterns. So just taking a look here at all of this sculpt work, moving on down to the tail where it goes really crazy. Look at all that little sculpting and scale work. This thing looks absolutely fantastic. They really spared no expense when it comes to the sculpt work on this guy. And uniquely, pretty small feet for, you know, a Mattel dinosaur. These feet look pretty reasonably sized for this creature. And, well, no issues standing, especially with that long tail that actually does counteract the balance. Now, obviously I'm having trouble standing here because his feet aren't properly aligned, but as you can see, you don't have any trouble getting this guy to stand, even with those reasonably sized feet. Huh, guess you could do it, huh, Mattel? So, with that being said, let's take a look at the articulation, because this thing, of course, is a Hammond collection, so we gotta see just how crazy they went there. So, starting in the head, of course, we have the jaw and skull are on different hinges, so you get double movement for a fully wide roar or attack. That can open quite a bit, definitely enough for you to get a human in there. And then on the base of the neck, that connecting to the head, just a ball joint, so you get about that up movement. Look down about there. A subtle, like right to left, just a subtle bit. And then at the base of the neck, you get quite a bit more left to right. So when you pair those together, you do get a fair bit of movement, not super crazy, but a fair bit. Look just about parallel with the body. Of course, you can rotate left, right, up and down. Look up about that far, down about that far. Arms, we all know the gig with the arms. They push out about here, move in about here, and it gets to almost a 90-degree angle in the arm bend. Of course, rotation 360 degrees. Rotation 360 degrees, although these legs do feel pretty stiff, like they're almost ratcheted, and I really like that, because as we know, a lot of weight's going to be put on here, and that is where the strongest joints need to be, so that the figure does not just go under the weight of its own self, you know, kind of pushing down on those ankle joints. It's kind of an issue with even the medium dinosaurs, is just their loose ankles. So moving on down to the leg. Well, I guess we're already on the leg, huh? It can bend in just about there, not too crazy. It can kick out just about there, not quite straight, but good enough. And then you get a back bend here, not too crazy at all, not much at all really, but the forward bend is much nicer for those getting up from laying down poses. And the foot has a ton of range of movement, as we all know. Of course, 360-degree rotation, 360-degree rotation, 360-degree rotation. Bendy wire tail, and 360-degree rotation. So, that is pretty much it for this figure. Pretty standard articulation that you'd expect from the line. Not too crazy, but definitely satisfactory, if not very impressive, just on its own. But seeing as this is not the newest, well, it is the newest Hammond collection, but Hammond collection isn't new, so the whole articulation gimmick is kind of standard now, and this is pretty standard articulation for the Hammond collection. Nothing too crazy, but it's very fair, and you're going to get the poses you're going to want to get out of it. Now, let's get on to scaling. I mentioned that this guy is a bit smaller than average, so let's go ahead and see what I mean. All right, so starting us off, of course, we're going to start at the bottom with a human. Here it is compared to your average Mattel human with Dr. Grant, if he will stand. So, looks pretty fair there, just about as what you'd expect. Moving up just a bit bigger is a baryonyx, so here it is with its fellow spinosaurid companion. About the same frame, you know, kind of same height, same overall build, although I think the baryonyx is just a tad bit taller, just a bit. And moving on to what I was talking about with a more bigger, bulkier predator like Metri here. Its fellow wave mate, as you can see. Metri's a bit taller, it's a bit bulkier, and just kind of a more filled out figure. If you're looking for something that will really fill your hands, you're going to want to go for the Metriacanthosaurus. But if you want something that looks crazy detailed, crazy in pictures, and you're going to stream, definitely go for the Irritator. And if you're cool, you're going to go for all three of them, right? Anyway, guys, that has been my review for the Irritator. I'm going to give this guy a 9.5 out of 10. He is quite spectacular. He has amazing sculpting, okay paintwork. It's actually quite nice. I really like it, especially from afar. Definitely one of Mattel's better, simpler paint schemes. And articulation's pretty standard. I like the attention to size instead of just making it fit the status quo of its kind of toy grouping. It's you know, how big it should be. And yeah, I'm just really impressed with this one. This is possibly saving the best for last in this wave. And I can't wait to see what more we get in the Hammond collection line. As for the smaller figures, you know, Dennis, John Hammond, Stegosaurus, and Young Rex, I really only see myself getting the humans and the Young Rex because I've seen how good it can pose. Stegosaurus, I might, if it's in stores and it's right in front of me. Otherwise, I'm not going to chase it down. The Legacy Collection version is better. And yeah, so the smaller wave is a little bit lackluster this time around, but the medium dinosaurs definitely make up for it in that regard. And yeah, here's on to more Hammond collections and a bright future for this line. Anyway, guys, that's enough from me. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for our next video, and this has been Toy Adventures, signing off. Peace!